Hello everybody, it's Nick here with Nick Tolman Music, and today we're going to go ahead and continue our beginner guitar lesson series using the Hal Leonard guitar method, book 1. Let's get started. Alright, so today we're going to go ahead and take a look at page 30 here in the Hal Leonard Beginner Guitar Method, Book 1. In today's lesson, we are going to learn about eighth notes, which is a really important lesson for you moving forward on guitar. So definitely stay tuned for this lesson. Before we get started, I will toss out a reminder to go over and check out my Patreon page if you haven't already. As a patron of Nick Tolman Music, you get access to a lot of great opportunities, including early access to guitar lesson material, a weekly exclusive video series where you as a patron get to ask questions and I answer those in a weekly lesson video. But also, becoming a patron is a great way to just say thank you to Nick Tolman Music for the content that you're receiving here on YouTube, as well as just a great way to stay accountable for the goals that you've set on guitar. That small monthly charge of as little as $3 a month can be a great reminder for you to stay on track and keep working toward the goals that you've set on your instrument. So definitely consider becoming a patron today. The link is in the description below. All right, so on page 30, we are going to learn about eighth notes. So up to this point, we have only dealt with 3 different types of notes. We've used whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. Now we've also used ties, which have kind of tied notes together to make interesting lengths of notes. But we're going to learn a new type of note today, which is called an eighth note. Now, a whole note gets 4 beats, right? A half note gets 2 beats. A quarter note gets 1 beat. If you see the pattern here, you can figure out what an eighth note is. Well, an eighth note gets half of a beat. Now, when I first say that to most students, they're usually like, how do I do that, right? And we're going to talk about that. So there's a really important skill that we're going to use a lot in this lesson today, and the word is called subdivision. Now, subdividing is just a tool that we use in our mind or with our bodies to feel the division of the beat. Now, you can divide the beat into many different ways, but to divide it into eighth notes is really simple, and we'll talk about how to do that as well. So, as you can see in the explanation up here, you have a quarter note, and then you have 2 eighth notes. So again, an eighth note is equal to half of a beat, half of a quarter note. So you need 2 eighth notes to fill up the same amount of space of time as 1 quarter note, right? Just like 2 quarter notes would equal 1 half note as far as 2 beats worth of time, right? Now, as you look down, you can see eighth notes written in 2 different ways. If you see an eighth note all by itself, it's going to look just like a quarter note, but it's going to have a flag on the stem. If there are multiple eighth notes near each other, usually what you'll see is that they looks like quarter notes that are barred together across the top of the stem. And whenever you see the notes like that, that means that it is an eighth note or a series of eighth notes, right? Usually those groups of eighth notes like that are going to be in groups of 2 or 4. If you have an odd number of eighth notes next to each other, usually what you'll see is one of the eighth notes will be with a flag, and then the rest of them will be in groups of even number groups of either 2 or 4 eighth notes. All right, so then it talks about how to divide the beat, okay? And this is how it's going to work. We're going to use the words and to divide the beats, okay? So I'm going to go and turn on my metronome to help illustrate this. So I'm going to turn on the metronome to 72. Now, if I was just going to count quarter notes in 4/4 time, I would count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Now to do eighth notes, all I'm going to do is go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. Now, super simple. The 1, 2, 3, 4 are always going to end up in the same place. We're just throwing the word and in between. And that helps us to hear in our minds where those eighth notes are supposed to land. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is a super, super important skill. Don't skip this step. Because as you play eighth notes, it's really important that you are thinking that in your mind. You're feeling that subdivided pulse. You're not just feeling 1, 2, 3, 4. You're feeling 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you always are aware of where those eighth notes lie in time. Okay, so let's go and take a look at 67. Now for all of the exercises today, we're going to add a step. Normally, what I would do would just play it for you and then play it faster. We're going to count as well. So as we work on these eighth notes, it's really important to just count the rhythms out loud, and we're going to do that. All right. So here is exercise 67. I'm going to count it, and then I'm going to play it at 72 on the metronome. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, so there it is counted. Practice that. Do it over and over again if you need to. All right, so here it is played. 1, 2, ready, and play. And that's that, right? Now, something else you can do, and maybe an in-between step, would be to play and count at the same time to make sure that you are lining that up. Something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? You can absolutely add that. But the counting step is really crucial as you're getting used to playing eighth notes. All right, so as usual, you're going to build that metronome up slowly, take it a couple clicks up at a time until you get to a faster tempo. Here is 120 on the metronome. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Woo! Yeah, you can loop that, right? Just 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Perfect exercise for getting used to that subdivision. All right, so let's go ahead and play it. Here's 67 at 120 on the metronome. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, play. And there it is. Again, that one can be looped as well, just over and over again, getting used to those eighth notes. Okay, so moving on to exercise 68. This one really can be, like, chunking is going to be really important. Don't hesitate to break this into smaller sections, 2-measure sections, 4-measure sections, and just focus on, it's giving you a bunch of different like ideas of what these eighth notes might do. Now the notes are real simple. You're just hanging out on E, F, and G up on the first string. But you have a lot of different rhythms that are happening with the eighth notes. All right. So again, I'm going to count it at 72, and I'm going to play it. So here is 72 on the metronome, starting with counting. 1, 2, ready, and count. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, half note. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4. Right? Now you'll notice the 3, 4. That's me counting both beats, but indicating that we're holding through as a half note. I kind of threw the word half note into the first one so you can see that. All right, that's really important. The numbers are all there, all the ands are there. Practice that. Get used to seeing those eighth notes and counting them. and counting those rhythms correctly. All right, so here it is played at 72. 1 and 2 and ready and play. All right. If that's challenging for you, again, I would suggest breaking it down into smaller chunks and just isolating, count the rhythm, play the rhythm, count the rhythm, play the rhythm, back and forth. It can be as small as a single measure chunk or a 2 measure chunk or a 4 measure, whatever kind of is making sense for you as far as how far you feel like you need to break it down. The other thing you can do is you can leave the note factor out of it. And so instead of changing to the E, F, and G, just play this whole exercise all on E just to get the rhythms right with the eighth notes, and then start adding the fingers back in once you're feeling comfortable with those. Okay, so that's another option of something that you can do as you're building this up. Let's go ahead and bump that tempo up to 120. Again, you are slowly building up to this tempo. Don't necessarily just jump straight to it unless you're really feeling like you can. Then by all means, give it a shot. But here is 120 on the metronome. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and ready, count. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4, off. Whoo! There it is. All right, let's go ahead and play it. Here we go. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and ready, play. And there it is. So that is the introduction to eighth notes. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or otherwise, please leave those in the comments section below. As always, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Go ahead and hit that notification bell while you're at it, and we will see you in our next guitar lesson. Thanks.